Tesla is quite popular in Germany, and it should be. It's a local brand with a local factory made by real local people. And so, of course, I've got my good friend Jan with me to discuss all the things about Germany and driving in it. Of course, he's not a nut at all, escaped from an insane asylum. But we will discuss that. I'm Brian. Welcome to Future Awesome. Hey, Jan, you know what I realized we forgot to do yesterday or the day before in our video was our big announcement. We were going to
Brian,
do
how
that.
could you?
I have notes, but it wasn't in my notes, so we didn't get to it. So the big announcements are twofold. One is that we will be at the X takeover in Austria in May, which is going to be very exciting and fun. And then because whenever he's on my channel, but wait, there's more. Do not order ever. No. Don't operators are standing by. The beauty is whenever Jan comes on my channel, I go on his and vice versa. Same thing with these takeover kind of things. Jan's going to be joining me and a bunch of other great folks in Michigan in June 15th and probably the 16th. The 16th is a ticketed event. The 15th is a big free event, and we're going to have all kinds of big names. I don't know how many of them I'm allowed to say, even though I'm helping them with the planning. But there's going to be Lars from Best in Tesla will be there. Kyle from Out of Spec will be there. There is a rumor that Sandy Monroe is going to be there. So we shall see. We shall see. It's going to be, and Dr. Know-It-All and Matt Smith from Rebellion Air. There's going to be a whole lot of very smart people and also me. So that'll be great. And the bearded Tesla guy will be there. The list goes on and then stops because we run out of day.
Yeah.
Now, so Germany, you have pretty good public transportation. And because of that, it's not unreasonable to set high barriers to entry for owning and operating a vehicle. How much does it cost to get a driver's license in Germany?
It costs around 3,500 euros. That's about,
it's about
how much dollar? Yeah.
3,700 maybe. It's to get your driver's license costs thousands of dollars.
Wait a second, but there's a huge difference because you guys in the US actually go to a parking lot, drive around left lane. It depends on the state. That's how we as Germans view it. We have to go to a school, actually, to learn stuff about the street, about the road. And this takes weeks, actually, to do. That's why it's so expensive. And then you have to do driver's hours, and you have to gather your driving hours with your driver instructor, not just one day or something like this, over a span of weeks. You have to do a night drive, you have to do a day drive and stuff like this. You have to do long distance drive, for example, like in the city, for example, in a smaller 30 or that's about 15 miles an hour city streets, where like small village streets and stuff like this. So a lot you have to do to get your driver's license, but then when you pay, that's why it's so expensive to get it. Yeah, because it takes so much time. Yeah, that's something you have to keep in mind. But then people can actually drive. No, I won't stir up stress here. I get the point. That's learning by doing. Let's say like this.
So in the US, you do have to take driver's ed if you are under 18. Once you turn 18, it's assumed that you drove your pappy's truck on the farm and you probably know how to drive it. But it does seem crazy that we have no real training, no mandatory training for anyone over 18. The driver's ed I took a million years ago was, a couple $100, but I'm sure it's vastly more now. And the testing itself in the US, it varies by state, but I'd be surprised if it's more than $50, $100. And the test itself is very quick, maybe 15 minutes. And I think I don't know if they do parallel parking in the parking lot. They might, just in case you're really bad. But it's harder to see cones than it is other cars. But you do drive out onto the road a bit. But again, it's a very short drive. And it's a very easy test. And if you've ever seen American drivers, you can rest assured that anyone can pass that test. When I hear
Yeah.
people say, "Oh yeah, it took me 3 tries to pass it," I go, "Oh my Lord. It should get
Don't go
harder.
on the road.
If
Yeah, yeah.
if you don't pass it the first time, or it should get harder each time because you should not be on the road." Uh, so that's the first cost. That's massive. What about
hmm
routine vehicle testing? Tell me about that.
So, routine vehicle testing is the TÜV in Germany, the HU and the AU, which means
Mhm.
the Hauptuntersuchung and the Abgasuntersuchung. This means,
Of course, of
yeah.
course.
So there are two types. The first one is just the Hauptuntersuchung means that they check the vehicle, they check the brakes, they check if rust is anywhere, too much. If your car has holes somewhere that that the car shouldn't have, and they check the engine, they check the brake lights, they check the whole car more or less. They check if you did modifications on the car, for example, as well that are not allowed because the entity that tests the vehicle, the testing facility, you have to test your car there. If you want to do modifications as well, they're going to check everything if that is conform, and then it's going to be passed or not. So very strict laws there. And yeah, and then we have the Abgasuntersuchung, which means they test the exhaust, actually, what comes out of the exhaust, and is it is it still
Polluting.
working? Yeah, is it polluting too much? Then something is maybe not working inside of the car, that the filter system is somehow blocked or something like this, then you have to change it. So that's the thing. So older cars will have a hard time, newer cars won't have the hard time so much. But yeah, so this test or testing costs around like 100 euros or something like this in that area to test your vehicle, 150, something around that ballpark. So I'm not knowing the exact number, but that's what pops in my head.
And
Yeah.
is that every year, every other year?
Every 2 years you have to check your car. Yeah, I wanted to add here because EV doesn't need to have a Abgasuntersuchung, which means for the exhaust, of course. But there was a headline in the news that Teslas don't pass the regular vehicle inspection because their brakes are always corroded. Yeah, because Teslas actually don't really use the brakes as much, and that's why we have this issue. And yeah, that's the thing. You have to press your brakes sometimes, really, to get the rust or the debris and everything that's on the brake off. Because then, if you wait 2 years, then probably you won't pass this test, and then you have to change your brakes, even though you haven't used them. So yeah.
So, and that's the thing is, I did see that there was going to be or already is an update that will periodically pulse the brakes to keep the rust knocked down. The
hmm
rust is, I can understand why that rule would be in place, but it doesn't quite apply on EVs. Fine.
hmm
By the way, I should tell you what the testing is in my state. There is no the Haupt testing. There is if your blinker doesn't work, you'll get pulled over. In terms of modifications, go for it. It's open season.
yeah,
It used to be that with
that's so
emissions
crazy.
testing, they would visually inspect your engine to make sure it appeared stock.
hmm
But in my state, they have done away with emissions testing because the fail rate was so low and the remedy requirement was a joke. You had to, if you failed your emissions test, you had to spend a maximum of like $200 or something like that. And then even if it didn't pass, it passed. Just as long as you spent $200, because they didn't want to create an undue burden on lower income drivers,
Hmm.
especially since our transit system is not terribly effective. Which kind of modifications would fail your car?
So if you have those neon lights below the car,
Mm-hmm.
that's not allowed in Germany. Actually, not if you have blue light on your car, it's not allowed because that's the police's color. You can have yellow lights, but on special vehicles, for example. So you
Mm.
cannot just put yellow lights on every car you want to do. Then I mean on the top, you know those circling
Right.
lights, for example, of emergency vehicles or something like this, or yeah,
Tow trucks.
working trucks and tow trucks and stuff like this. Yeah. Also, like if you do, for example, the crazy body modifications that are a little bit out of the norm, and this is very early. I have to tell you, It's super strict in Germany. And we also kind of push our laws to the rest of Europe, which is horrible. So everybody loses in that sense because Europe always does, the country that has the highest standard kinds of sets the tone for the rest, because that's where to put your bar, kind of. That's how they do it. And yeah, so those kinds of modifications are bad. For example, if you tint your windows in the front, you're not allowed to tint your windows in the front. On the side, it's okay, but on the back, it's okay. But I think the side windows have to have a special percentage of. You cannot black out your car, especially not the headlights. That's also something. You cannot frost your headlights or something like this. This is also not allowed. Yeah, so a lot is not allowed actually to do.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Do they check if
Yeah,
your horn
not
is
for the
playing La
Germans.
Cucaracha?
Absolutely not allowed because yeah, that's something
Yeah.
in Germany actually with the Tesla. If you want to change your horn, that just works in park. You can just press the boombox and then you do the La Cucaracha. But as soon as you put it in drive, it's just the normal horn. You're not allowed to change the horn as well.
They
That's
did
also
change
very
that
sad
on
for
us as
Tesla.
well. They did change that on us
Okay.
as well, and they got rid of
Damn it.
boombox, which is a travesty, and they deserve to be called the no fun police because that's what they are. The last one I wanted to talk about was the cost of annual registration. I assume there's a little sticker on your plate.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's the vehicle testing that we have the sticker on our
Okay.
plates. But yeah, that's
So
the
it's
sticker,
100.
and that's for 2 years. Yeah, that's
Oh, that's
150.
great.
But we also have taxes, of course. Taxes, automotive tax. So for owning a car, you have to pay taxes on that. Or yeah, for the
And how much is that?
registration also. So registration to register your vehicle, it's around $80, 80 euros. It's fine. You register your car, everything's fine. You get your yeah, it's like a certificate that you get handed out, and this one is very important. This is something you keep in your safe because when that's stolen, people can actually sell your car. Yeah, so that's also
Right.
something.
And when you
And
go to
if
sell
you
it,
don't
you have to remember where you left it.
exactly, that's very important. So that's a Fahrzeugbrief in German. Yeah, and one thing is the taxes actually on the car is interesting because the EVs don't have taxes, but I've already received a letter, and I'm like, what? Wait a second, I thought EVs don't have, you don't have to pay the automotive tax. And then I've read, yeah, going forward from, I think it was 2028, because then the law changes. Because I already said that, okay, until now, and then it's around 150 to 200 euros per year for owning the car. Yeah, so, or
That's
300
that's
something
nothing.
around that ballpark. Yeah.
So in my state, we have a very interesting incentive. Most of our road taxes are paid with gas tax. They used to be paid on our registration. You would have $1,500 to $3,000 tabs for the sticker per year on a brand new car. And
Oh.
that was just so outrageous that it was thrown out. It was voted out. And so they keep trying to find new ways to get you. So now my registration is only maybe $200-300 a year, but they tack on an EV fee because I ain't paying gas tax. So they charge me more than they charge
Oh.
my neighbor because he pays gas tax and I don't. It's a pretty perverse incentive is what it is, and it sucks. Is there any ongoing driver testing after you've got your license the first time?
Nope. No, there
Okay.
is not. But only if you, yeah, of course, if you're speeding, we have a
yeah.
point system. If you reach 10 points, then you're like, there's a lot of things happening. If you lose 4 points, you already get your license revoked for 1 month, for example. And then, yeah, that's how it works. And if you don't give out your license for 1 month or 3 months, depending on how much you speeded, then the police will knock on your door and take the thing from you for 3 months and then give it back to you. That's how it works. Yeah.
Wow, that's
But and then in that scenario you have to do re-education training for getting your driver's license
Sure.
back if it's revoked because of your speeding,
So,
for example. But
for
that's reasonable. Yeah.
for a minor ticket, you get 1 point. For an accident or
Not
major
even
ticket,
that. Not even. No.
Oh, okay.
No. That.
What's the
no,
high
really,
score?
If you, it's I think 10 points, and I think if you drive over a red light, That's 2 points, I think.
Well,
And
I'm sure
so,
someone's
yeah.
got a score higher than that. I'd be curious if we
Yeah.
could find the high score.
No.
Maybe we'll look into that.
The high score
So,
is you're revoked to drive, so you're not allowed to drive, and then it's prison time after that.
and
So,
how much is insurance for a normal new car these days?
okay,
Couple
insurance
hundred
is tricky. Yeah, a couple hundred. I would say 500 or 600 a year, something like this.
a year?
700.
Ooh,
Wait a
that's very
second.
good.
Or no, wait a second. 200 a month. That could be reasonable. Something like this.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
blanking out right now.
probably
How much do I pay?
the rates I've seen in other countries, in other developed countries, appear
But it's low.
in line with U.S. rates. Well,
Mm.
it's more because it's a new car and you've got more value to
Yeah,
insure.
that's true.
On my old
Mm.
car, my insurance was about half what I pay now, but my car
Mhm.
was worth a tenth of what my car is now. So it's
Yeah, I think it's 150 a month, something like this.
that's about what I
Yeah.
think I'm
Yeah.
paying. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys, in the comments, what did we miss? What do we misunderstand? Where do you live, and what does it cost you to drive, to keep driving, to not drive so fast that you lose your license? You know, all those things. I'd be very curious to know. Yes,
Brian,
there's one more.
I have to break this end of the episode up because I have
Oh,
one thing
please.
that is very important.
Oh,
One
please.
big thing, and that's gas. How much does gas cost in
Oh,
Germany?
yeah.
That's a very huge one that I wanted to touch on because we've talked about taxes and stuff like this. We have actually 50% taxes on our fuel, and so we pay for 1 liter, which you jug gallons into your car in the US, of course, which is around 4 liters, so or 4.5 liters. So for 1 liter, we pay €1.90 or something like this. So let's say like 170 in that ballpark. And so this accumulates to, if you want to pump your gas by
Yeah.
8
6, $7
euros.
a gallon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
$6-7 a gallon, and
$8 a gallon, maybe?
and then I kind of, for my smaller car, it's a very efficient small car that I owned before, which cost me around 60 euros to fill up my tank. So yeah, now you can do your math as well. So it is very expensive, the fuel in Germany, of
And
course.
what is
Energy
your
costs.
electricity rate?
Yeah, it's around 50 cents per kilo yeah, wait, 50 cents
That seems
per
awfully
kilowatt.
high.
Wait a second. In the area, yeah, there are some for 25 cents.
Oh, you don't have home
But
charging.
no, I don't have home charging. Yeah,
Oh.
that's a huge issue. I have to go when I go shopping, for example, or something. I'm gonna plug it in, so the rates are pretty high. But especially the gas stations that change, for example, Aral did their partnered with Tesla and bought the superchargers as well and stuff like this. In the area where I can supercharge at the gas stations, the former gas stations, the rate is even higher. It's around 80 cents or something, which is super high. It's ridiculous. And a friend of mine
Wow.
already seen €1.10 per kilowatt to charge, which is
Wow.
insane.
You need to get some referral credits so that you can get some free supercharger miles.
Please.
I've been using those. It's wonderful. I have finally gotten over the 30,000 points mark so that I can squirrel away and hope for an event where I'm able to use it to purchase access to a site. So, guys, what
Yeah.
did we miss or misunderstand? I think nothing at this point, but I'm sure you guys have thought of something. Stay tuned, stay juicy, like, subscribe, all the usual stuff, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots, either in Austria at the X Takeover or in Michigan, in Muskegon on June 15th and or 16th. Can't wait to see you there, and that includes you, Jan.
Yes.